Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday, September 8th. Here we are. I'm going to actually hand it off to Clemente. I unexpectedly have to step out for a moment, but I will be back. Clemente, please rock and roll, and I'll be back momentarily.
Absolutely, no problem. I don't.
Wait, what?
He's got plans, Nick. Let him be.
Why not play just play some additional music?
Oh, no
Doesn't
problem.
matter, dude. Doesn't
you
matter.
Want,
We
you
got
want some, you lose
Clemente.
some. Nick, real quick, I wanted to start this off. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but I know you're a tech guy. You're plugged in that department. Did you see the Apple iPhone 15 Pro is expected to be going through a price increase, the first since 2017? That's what the tech people are talking about on Twitter. Curious what you think there.
Which tech people are you following on Twitter?
The Apple Hub.
The Apple Hub. Haven't heard of that one.
Well, they got 1 million views on the tweet yesterday. So
yeah, but I mean, I got a million views on the picture of me as Harry Potter. So,
Fair.
how much of an increase is this?
$100.
$100.
And it looks the exact same.
It's also coming with USB-C instead of Lightning.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think is pretty cool. I was thinking about it as an input for shout out to Europe for forcing that to happen. The thing I was thinking is interesting. That's about the only thing good going on in Europe. But
Got him.
Stinger.
Stinger, please. I'm not even going to enter the debate. Look, guys, let's just make this straight. If an iPhone's going up by $100, I don't know about you guys, but my car insurance has gone up by like thousands. I'm still good with the $100 raise on this, but I'm not getting an iPhone 15 simply because I already have the latest one. And we all know you need to wait like 3 iPhones for like a real change. So I'm happy with the $100 increase, but depends what generation you're on.
I mean, the real phone we should be talking about is MKBHD's Solana phone breakdown. All press is good press, baby.
Calm down, easy. No one cares.
Wow, got me. Jesus.
Zinger.
Zinger.
Nobody watched that outside of the U.S., which is the weakest country, is what she's saying. Easy. So that's what.
I'll just
was going.
leave for
No,
the show today.
I did see that that video. I like how he called them D apps.
Yep.
And he was also calling Solana a Web3 company was one of the things that he said.
The best thing he started with was, I don't like crypto or NFTs, so here's my review on a crypto cell phone. I was like, damn, all right, this won't be biased.
I actually thought it was a pretty good review. Like,
I do agree.
I thought it was like pretty balanced.
You got it right here. It's sitting
You
here.
have it?
Of
Oh,
course.
I didn't know you have it. Okay.
Yeah, they hooked it up. We got the whole thing right here. It's beautiful. The phone this is a sturdy phone. I'm not like, that's the one thing he did agree on. This thing is heavy. It outweighs my iPhone. It's and the fingerprint scanner is cool. Like, it unlocks the phone as soon as you enter the password the first time. It comes with all the traditional apps. It has the full DApp store, D-App store, as he kept calling it. I
want to understand. See, that's where he didn't dive into some of the things. Is the DApp store literally just a link to other apps that you can install?
So it's its own application that's its own store, but it's not exclusive to the Solana phone. It just comes natively on the phone, as well as like the Seed Vault, fingerprint reader, some of those things.
A couple of things. So the Seed Vault, the main point of that thing is that you can like log into other apps without exposing your seed phrase. Is that kind of like
so you don't even like have to technically write the seed phrase down. It's exclusively stored on the phone with no like third-party reference to it. 24-word seed phrase that's right on the phone, only tied to the phone itself. And with the fingerprint scanner on the back, you can actually like log in and sign transactions with the fingerprint instead of anything else. So like when I go to a store, if my finger's just on that fingerprint scanner, it just streamlines everything. So like I can go to Phantom, I can buy NFTs and just hold my finger on the fingerprint scanner and it's one click. So it makes it really easy to like navigate all that stuff from like dApps and everything else.
Sorry, when you say, oh, I see. So it's a built-in wallet in there that's constantly persistent across all the other applications.
So you know how MetaMask has the browser tab? The whole, like, how you can go into the MetaMask mobile app and then you have to go to the browser to go to like OpenSea and do anything. You can just go into Google and go to Phantom or any other Web3 application and it can connect right there. So it's just native. So any app that has like Web3 functionality can be tied right into it. Which is just like a little bit easier process, I would say.
Yeah, but my question,
Sorry, go on, Nick. No, go on.
The question I still have about that user interface, and I'm getting into the weeds here though. Let's say I don't care about logging into Phantom, a wallet, but you're saying I have a seed phrase, aka I have a wallet like already built into the phone. So if I go to OpenSea, Magic Eden in this case, or wherever it is, that if I go to Magic Eden and I buy a Bodago, the wallet on my phone suffices without me installing Phantom. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm just logged in there. I don't actually even need another wallet. Now, if I want to see details about my balances and things like that, that's why I would install Phantom. Basically, that I can now have a visual wallet interface there. I mean, that is interesting, and I don't know if it would cause me to buy another phone. Like, it's one way to solve the UX problem that exists with wallets at the moment. That said, I got in a debate with some guy on Twitter the other day, which was really healthy for me. And the discussion was over whether or not like sites that force you to log in with your wallet are like a good user experience. My position, I was just like, there's no way you can convince me that logging in with a wallet that has money in it is a good user experience, period. Like, it just opens up all sorts of attack vectors. And the guy responding, he was like, yeah, dummy, but you're signing to log in. You're not signing to make a transaction. And I'm like, okay, but the average user doesn't know that right now. Like, there's no visual aid in it. Now, some of the wallets have been implementing better security features, but they even look kind of whack. Now, maybe I'm like short-sighted when it comes to the vision of the future, in the sense that eventually the wallets are just going to make it easy enough that it's obvious that you're making a different type of signature that you're authenticating with. But I still feel like it's a risky thing. I guess the wallets are the ones that are at fault for it, but it still feels weird. I made a comparison to logging in with your credit card number. And he was like, well, no, that's not the same, because you know that better than anybody that you need to sign a transaction in order for it to authenticate. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, but you're still exposing a lot of information in that process. And I also think one click away from like essentially having
losing
your wallet
your entire
drained.
net worth.
And even the top people in the space, there was some tweet that went live yesterday, or that I saw circulating, that about like someone who had $25 million like
staked ETH drained yesterday.
Yeah, just stolen from them because they were phished. And to me, that's just such a bad user experience.
Well, you look at people like Soul Big Brain, who had over $1 million socially engineered, and that guy's like one of what many people regard as a top Solana investor, one of the like heaviest investors on the VC side. And if they're getting phished, what's going to happen with like Grandma Gertrude, who's just actively monitoring the market every day?
Grandma.
You know?
Is that how you say it? Grandma Gertrude?
Yeah, it's Grandma Gertrude. You got a problem with grams? Say it to her face. But like, you're not going to get any level of like retail participation when you have to be so weary of everything. And it's also just like, I look at it from like all the scam links that have all over Twitter. Like, dude, my mom participates and gets the free NFTs. And I was with her in Orlando, and she was like looking at an ad, and she's like, oh, it's a free NFT. I was like, don't click that. Like, what are you doing? Don't click that. Like, stop. Like, it's just like complete lack of understanding. And that's not like, she's not the only one, but it's just people who don't get that like these scams happen and are frequent that would like shy away from it.
It's an awful user experience, just period. The wallet experience is a shitty experience. And the idea that people should authenticate their identity using their wallet, to me, is just nonsensical. I understand the main point of it that a lot of people were advocating for is like the fact that it's not definitive, like identifier of who you are necessarily, because although I mean, I guess it's pretty clear that like the exchanges will block money based on transactions that you've made in the past. I saw something about Sergito was posted something about how two of his friends got blocked from Coinbase because someone had sent a 20-cent transaction from Tornado Cash 2 years ago to them. And so now they can't operate with Coinbase. And by the way, like, there's no support at Coinbase. Like, it just doesn't exist. Your account just gets frozen. And so I think that, like, the overall user experience for this whole space is still hot garbage. It's just absolute garbage. And all of the people that are, like, very defensive about it, by the way, like a lot of the developers who, like, operate in this space and are, like, true advocates of, like, a lot of the technology are just like, you just don't understand it. And I'm like, yeah, man, blame the user. Like, I don't understand. Like, you guys aren't going to make any progress as long as you don't understand that this is the dumbest user experience possible, despite the cool technology that you got, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
There isn't an appreciation for the level of power user that it takes to operate every day. And I mean, when I bought that Justin Bieber thing yesterday, it took me like 2 or 3 minutes on OpenSea to figure out that it was on base. And I'm someone that's been in the space for years at this point, someone that works full time in the space. 2 or 3 minutes is like a long time to be able to have to discern that it's on a different chain, you know?
There's, is the floor up on that, Clemente? I saw you highlighting.
Oh, it's way up.
One of the most volatile NFTs to date. I wanted to hear what you thought about the phone signal, but last thing. Well, actually, no. Go. You'd wanted to say.
I was gonna say, like, easy. I mean, because you actually have the phone, so when it's not like, if we combine what MK was saying with your experience, I was thinking $1,000 just sounds way too much, because his summary was that basically the phone is pretty, like, apart from the materials, the actual phone, and aside from the cable. So the materials and the cable, aside from those two components, the phone is pretty average. And the market size for who would actually be buying the phone is tiny, tiny, tiny. And the way he concluded the video was that, best case scenario, this is a phone that gets used by Solana users. Worst case scenario, the next crypto phone that comes out has a much higher uphill battle, simply because the standard that this phone is just doesn't even meet, like, the average Android. And so it's coming out at $1,000. We're just seeing Apple increase from just over 1,000 to 1,200. Like, where do you see this phone going?
This phone dropped to 600.
Isn't it 600? Yeah.
It's 600.
Yeah,
Okay.
they dropped it 40%. It's at $600, which is more in line with actually, like, the base model. And he was like, the one thing I was, like, more surprised about was how hypercritical he was on the camera, because I actually thought the camera was pretty solid. Like, that was the one thing I was like, oh, this is actually decent. The battery life, I also thought isn't bad, but, like, he's, like, I will say he's hyper focused on, like, true core tech side of things. Whereas, like, as a regular user,
focused on the hardware. Like, he's a hardware guy, focused on the hardware, had no understanding. Well, he didn't have no understanding. It was actually, as much as someone who's in the space and you can look at it and saying, oh, he's saying DApp instead of DApp. It really just indicates the fact that, like, the average consumer has no fucking clue what's going on in the crypto space. It's not compelling to anybody to drive any sort of purchase decision, which I agree with. Like, there's no compelling reason. What it's solving for, and frankly, an experimentation of, is trying to make that wallet experience one which is lower friction. And that seems like the biggest value add that they have with that vault built into the phone. And that's really interesting for someone who's, like, exploring the crypto space and the user experience side of things. I think it's cool from an experimental standpoint, but I still think we're a long way from this being the natural user experience that people are going to deal with. And I actually think that they're probably going down the wrong path as it applies to functionality associated with it, because there was something that I was thinking about, as someone who's operated in the space, the best rule of thumb is don't sign into a site, don't sign a transaction. That's your best form of security. Like, when it comes to crypto, you just basically never should do it. Like, unless you know that you went with intention for the purpose of the transaction that you were going for. That's essentially the only way to do it. The other way is you set up another wallet just for the purpose of that transaction, move money. Those are the two ways. But we were having a conversation yesterday about our own product. And one of the things we were discussing was how on OpenSea, on the profile, I have like a profile where my CryptoPunk is sitting there right now. And I have like a couple NFTs that I would probably want to showcase, like Justin Aversano's work and some other stuff. People can now airdrop shit into this has always been an issue with OpenSea. It's not like a new thing, but people can just send random shit that I've never touched. Like, I don't know what that Nifty Taylor Genesis Mint Pass, if that's even real. Board App Collection, like all these dinks. I don't know what these NFTs are. So someone was able to like put that into this wallet and showcase it on my profile. And now for me to remove it, I have to go sign a transaction with my ledger to remove that thing off the site. That's crazy. Like that makes no sense. So yeah, I just think like the user experience on continued to this day is still absolute garbage. It's still trash.
You brought up something around like the specific to the Solana phone side of things and like them going down the wrong path for some of it. I almost got to take like the opposite side of that argument, because like when I look at this, like Solana has a massive mobile audience, and to me that's where I'm like, this in my eyes could be a win. Sure, it's a niche audience. I think the price point drop is significant, but having a large mobile audience that this phone does ship globally to is where I'm like, this is more interesting, because you have a lot of people that are actively using the Phantom wallet, browser and wallet, and this streamlines that process. So that's where I look at it and I'm like, they're marketing towards an audience and the only blockchain that has a stronger mobile user base than desktop. So like, why would they not try to make a more seamless experience on mobile for that target market? You know, like that's how I
completely agree. Although a large number of those people are international, they could also be in third world countries. They could in places that are not going to pay for a $600 phone. I do agree from that standpoint that I think pushing that side forward is good. I just don't know. And I guess, yeah, I see the validity to what you're saying. I still believe that the user experience for these things is shit. But where it makes sense is like with a payments app. Like if you have I'm hooked on use cases for blockchain that payments are still remains.
Speaking of,
probably the number one.
I used Solana Pay for the first time yesterday on Shopify. Talk about seamless, dude. That thing was one click, USDC, one transaction sign. It was like, damn, this was clean. Like,
sorry, Solana Pay, because we installed some other plugin where we went through the user experience and we're like, we're gonna need to make a video tutorial on how to do this.
No, this was the easiest thing right through Shopify. I'll send you the link so you guys can check it out. But it was like it gives you 4 options, like debit card, PayPal, Venmo, Solana Pay.
Oh yeah, I saw that announcement, but I don't think we can install that functionality just yet, right? Like,
no, it's live now. It's officially live. And I used it yesterday. It was one click. It sends a USDC transaction, enter the same shipping numbers, and you just simply send USDC. And it was instant, like faster than my credit card processed when I bought a desk chair the other day. I was like, that was impressive at how quickly it took my USDC versus how long the wheel spun for my credit card. And I'm on 1 gig up down. So I know it's not my Wi-Fi. I know it's the systems. So I was like, I was pleasantly surprised, because I agree. I think payments are the most logical solution for like an actual use case. And that is what we're seeing with Visa coming out with support for Solana for USDC and stablecoin.
No, they did the same user interface as the service that we're doing. It's if you're used to like, but do you use Shop Pay easy?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And that's my default for checking out from Shopify sites. That's hands down the best user experience.
Yeah, you enter a phone number and it auto checks it.
Exactly. It just puts you through the whole thing, fills in your address, does all the payment stuff, and enables you to spend a lot more money very quickly. But which is really nice. And I feel like for a checkout flow, the distinction is what they have right now with the Solana Pay is similar to the plugin that we used called DPay, where you can select the blockchains that you want to integrate with. You have to still go through and type all of your shipping information and like manually type that in, which is not a seamless user experience. If they were able to make a one-click, I think Shopify calls, I'm blanking on the name, but they give you a couple other one-click options like PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, whatever it is, and all those things are right there up at the top. Purposely in the video of Solana Pay where they show the demo, which I just looked at, they purposely intentionally have that area removed. But I actually think that I wouldn't be surprised if the conversion rate on this is literally 50% less than what Shop Pay is. Shopify actually prides themselves when they sell you the site. The average person is probably not focusing on this, but the checkout rate is far higher for those who have implemented Shop Pay on their site. And I think it's a 25% increase in conversion, which is like, that's huge. Like that's like a massive bump. So that's where they've really focused on optimizing that. And it's brilliant. It's basically, they brought the one-click checkout that Amazon has, which is why Amazon also has insanely high conversion rates, because it's one-click buy. Although I think now it's two-click for one-click, but so they don't call it that anymore. But essentially, I think that that's awesome. But so did you type in your shipping information?
Yeah. So you still have to do that, of course, like, because that's not tied to a wallet address. So you still have to manually type in the shipping address, and then you just select like same as billing or billing same as shipping, because there's nowhere to cross verify billing address because you're not actually using a credit card. And then as soon as it sent the transaction, it was one click, payment sent, and it confirmed my order.
Someone said you earn money back with Shop Pay. I didn't realize that that's possible. We need to get them sponsoring this show, because I'm going to be talking.
We just showed them for like 15 minutes, dude.
Well, and we talked about Solana. So how do we get Solana and Shopify both paying us? And then we'll talk about them more. We're going to have to cut off this conversation because they've not paid us enough.
Well, we'll see how that goes. I did watch the majority of the MKBHD review. It was interesting just to see like a sort of full-blown mainstream, I guess you could call like normie perspective of the phone. I totally understand from his angle why his position was what it was about the phone. And I really liked the comparison that he made to another phone. He was talking about how there was another phone on the market that's a small phone, and he described that phone as really niche. And he was like, you want to talk about niche?
It was created by the same team, basically, was what he was saying.
The small phone was?
Well, the prior iteration, I don't know about, I never saw one in there.
Was a separate comparison.
Yeah, there's just
okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, there's like a brief comparison where he goes, yeah, and I've talked about this small phone on the show before and talked about how niche it is, that not that many people want a small phone. Then he goes, how many people do you think want a Solana infused phone, that's like an average Android phone? Basically makes the comparison of like, if you thought that phone was niche, it's one of the top
golden
comments.
Comment.
The top comment is, that's quality. The price plummeted from 1,000 to 600 in less than a year. And someone says, wow, it really is crypto inspired.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see like mainstream perspectives on all this stuff. But MKBHD is absolutely right about just how niche the phone actually is. I'm surprised he did a review on it. I'm surprised that it got in front of him for a review, that he said, this is what I'm going to review.
I mean, he loves reviewing phones, and to be fair, like manufacturing a phone is like quite a freaking hurdle. The fact that this phone even exists is like quite a statement. And I think it's because
very real.
Literally, it's from a team that basically previously manufactured phones. So they have experience in that area. But like, you can't just like get up and go make a phone right now. I mean, you can. It is feasible, but the process for it, you need a lot of technical knowledge in order to implement it, and you need to make some sort of differentiating factor. It also just goes to show the absolute moat that iPhone and I guess Samsung and pretty much have on these markets, because they are at least an iteration ahead. What he was talking about, he was like, this is last year's technology. Yeah, it's last year's technology, because who the fuck, like, what ragtag?
The phone's also been out for a year. I'm just saying. Like, you do got to remember that the phone has been out for a year. It's not like it just dropped right before. So when this phone came out, it was right in line with some of the top Androids, which is what they tried to justify the price as. The other thing that I am a huge fan of, and I know I'm a Solana maxi, so maybe I'm biased here. My phone plan on this is $5 a month for unlimited data, text, mobile. $5 a month.
From
it's
who?
through Helium. It's like another partner that partnered with the Solana phone. That Helium uses like other networks. Technically, it's powered by T-Mobile. $5 a month. I think after
Does
taxes,
it work though?
It worked everywhere my iPhone works. That's powered by T-Mobile. Exact same service.
And how's the speed?
I would say my phone on this is faster than my iPhone. Not even joking.
Well,
Like it processes web pages faster. It navigates much quicker. This is no bullshit. Next time I see you, I'll let you play with it. It moves quick. That was the most surprising part is that
these
it
are
is
missing
quick.
factors in that review, though. That's the thing that I will
100%.
say
but
is
he's comparing it to other Android phones.
Yes.
And he's reviewed, I mean, probably like hundreds, thousands, if not, of just phones globally. So I think like easy, I completely believe what you're saying, but you don't have a comparison.
I don't have a tech background
against-
at all.
yeah,
100%.
you don't have a
I'm not a
tech-
hardware guy. He's done this a million times. I haven't. I like the phone. $1,000, I don't like the phone. $600, I like the phone a lot more. And for $5 a month to call, text, and get data in everywhere my iPhone does, powered by the same network, I like that. Obviously,
$5
like
my
most
is
phone
crazy.
bills $100 or $120 a month, something like that, which is like ludicrous. But I think the 120 is because of the Apple Watch. But otherwise, it's like $100 is what I got it down to, or $95 to
That's
have.
high.
I think it's because I have unlimited tethering, which was something that I've always had. I could reduce the I definitely could reduce the plan, probably, especially since tethering was something that I previously wanted, because I had a vision of myself traveling the world and working from
Digital nomad.
yeah, living the digital nomad life. And I had tried to figure out what approach can be used for that. And I still have a lot of the all the configurations for that, yet I keep getting larger apartments and filling it with stuff. So I don't know that that's the path towards digital nomad life, to be perfectly
Don't lie
honest.
now. We all know you downsized. You didn't upsize.
We downsized it, but I'm saying relative to the studio that I moved in when I came to New York. But wow, you found me from 2012.
Wow.
How did you find this?
He searches all Nick and then digital nomad.
This is a tweet, ladies and gentlemen, from January 19th, 2012. A very
One
young,
retweet, one like.
yeah, very young Nick. Not getting a ton of engagement at this time, Nick.
I don't know. I feel like the likes and retweets from back then all got
Way more
deleted.
value. Way more value.
So that looks depressing. But in terms of the main thing I just wanted to wrap with was that helium plan, for example, is a huge fucking deal, basically. But
I didn't realize. I guess it is only Miami at the moment, or one or two other major cities. So I think because they just advertised it to me, that's why it makes sense. But someone's in Atlanta that has it too. So I think it's just a handful of major cities for now as they increase the network. Because the way helium works too is the network expands as more people use it, because it like leverages some of those data points from it. So it's basically one giant Ponzi. In a sense, I'll send you the link, Nick, and you can take a look at this.
So it's like a mesh network, you're saying?
Yes, exactly. It's a mesh network. Yes.
You wrote an article, Nick, in July 2008. I was fresh out of high school at this time. The Pains of a Digital Nomad. This is by Nick O'Neill. Do you remember this?
Yeah, well, I remember trying to experiment with it and of course they've locked these articles basically. But yeah, I do actually. I used to do things just to like write an article about it basically. And the thing that I was experiencing at that time was,
go up to this title. I want to hear what you were experiencing, but you titled an article, "The Biggest Loser in Facebook versus Google is You." That's a good title, Nick.
That's not even the craziest title from Nick's early days. I'll tell you that much.
I'm sure I wrote a lot of other things. I wrote thousands of articles literally at that time, like 3,500 articles in like a year or two. So the thing I was going to say is, going through that experience, well, the bottom line is being a digital nomad still sucks. What I later learned was being a digital nomad is primarily for people that are depressed following breakups, and they're going through what I would say is somewhere around a quarter life crisis. If you go to like Bali or something like that, where all the co-working places are, it's all single, probably around 30, where they were just in a long-term relationship, went through a breakup. They're insanely depressed, but they're living a much healthier lifestyle. and they're handling the breakup way better than their ex, who's sitting, you know, in San Francisco or New York, with just staring at themselves in the mirror, saying, "What the fuck did I do with my life?" So I think that that's a much better approach to handling it, is go the digital nomad route. That said, the practicality of being a digital nomad, I think there's, like, the older that you get, I think the need for having like a home base like goes up. At least I've experienced that. I don't know, you know, what other people's experience is. And so it was always, you always needed some sort of location where you could have mail sent. Now, the way that you got around that is something, I use Earth Class Mail. We use it for the business technically, for like taxes and other things. So if I move, I don't need to deal with dealing with all the logistics of changing mailing addresses for the IRS and everybody else. But at that time, a lot of those products, which still existed then, really sucked. Earth Class Mail has gotten far better. It's an awesome experience. It's still crazy expensive though, like on a relative basis. And a lot of the other products that you would use going around, trying to, like, that were required, the infrastructure to implement a digital nomad life, there are some like logistics involved with it. The simplest though is just get on a plane and leave.
You can do that. You totally can do that. We had an audience member in Bali weighing in with a comment. Have we done the weather report yet?
Oh, no.
Okay, we'll get to that. Bunny, you have your hand raised. I'm assuming that's an old raise, but I wanted to throw to you. I didn't want to disrespect the bunny.
I was gonna say the most interesting part of the review was when he was like funning it for only being compatible with one blockchain, right? He named 3 other cryptos,
included Litecoin.
Dude, Litecoin. I was like, what is he talking about?
Well, yeah, I it's funny. I had the same exact reaction as you guys. As soon as you said Litecoin, I was like, oh, this guy's a little bit out to lunch with the crypto stuff, you know.
At least throw Doge in there as the third, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, he starts the video where he says, as you know, I've been like a long time skeptic of crypto and crypto stuff and everything like that. And I do just think about it. I'm like, what is this guy going to be thinking in like a dozen years, you know, when like Bitcoin, for example, has been like adopted by the legacy finance world in a really big way? What will the position be then? I'm just kind of fascinated by the whole
Bitcoin phone.
I don't know about a Bitcoin phone, but I mean, maybe, you know, we'll probably have some pretty good wallet technology in 12 years that will be secure and mobile and easy to use. And go ahead, Nick.
I mean, if you think about it, Apple Pay is literally tap the phone to like make a payment. And what's crazy is you can make the payment without even unlocking. Like on the Apple Watch, I can just tap the watch to the subway reader when I walk through, although I end up using the phone every time just because it's a weird arm twist sort of thing to like do the tap. But like that experience, it is still like you are still making that transaction with the single tap. And I think from that standpoint, it does make a ton of sense that there's at least a payments, which is what I said at the beginning of it, having a payments implementation that makes it easy for people to do those transactions and remove all friction from that. That makes sense. Being able to make an NFT transaction as a result of it doesn't feel as necessary. And it also just doesn't feel like a requirement for literally any product to be able to go make a quick and easy NFT transaction. Like that's just not, that's like saying, I need an easy way to go place an auction at Christie's, like a bid on an auction at Christie's. You don't need a quick way to do that. Like that just doesn't matter. And inherently things that are like truly non-fungible, which is like, there's a whole path like Blur and everyone else trying to make non-fungible tokens fungible, which I previously thought was the right way. And the more that I think about it, the more that I'm just like, that makes no sense. Like it just makes no sense. There's a reason that it's non-fungible, but we made it this like liquid market where things are trading at like incredibly rapid paces, but at a rapid pace, but it just doesn't make any sense. So I think from the payment side, that's where a lot of this stuff makes a ton of sense. And I'm really interested to see how people implement that component of it. The collectible side of it, I don't think needs, it needs low friction from the standpoint that it's low risk. So you
Yes.
don't have like huge security vulnerabilities, but
Yes.
it doesn't need to necessarily be instant transactions for making that purchase.
I
Yeah,
was going to say, Pio.
Yeah.
So I was going to say to Pio, to your point about him mentioning like how the phone isn't on other blockchains. I think like Marcus, he's like, you know, hyper smart cookie, hyper curious, loves hardware, loves technology. I watched a 30-minute solar panel video by him, which was like Tesla solar panel roof, which was insanely interesting. I never thought anyone in the world could make me watch a video about solar panels on a roof. And it just goes to show like, if that caliber of content creator and individual throws out a comment like it's not on Bitcoin, it's not on Litecoin, it just goes to show you like how difficult it is to understand this technology and to understand that that is not just a throwaway comment. That is probably something very difficult to do on mobile. So I just think it's more of a reflection of where we are today. And I'm sure like he will be someone who probably actually does go into crypto more, maybe in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. But I think the comment just shows you where we are today rather than a lack of his understanding because he hasn't, because it does show a lack of his understanding, but it shows that somebody of his caliber doesn't want to start looking at Web3 or crypto, mainly because he just probably feels like, you know, could be a bit scammy, could be just not that interesting. So I just see it as a reflection of the times of where we are. But 5 years from now, maybe the new MK or younger MK, they'll just be reviewing crypto phones. So there's also that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think you're thinking about it the right way. I mean, think about how many people have probably shilled BS to MK, BHD, and like, you know, just how many people have been in his ear. Like, think about the people that come in when the space is hot and leave when the space cools off. Those aren't the people that you want to listen to. So after so many of those people are in your ear when you're a prominent technology person like he is, you get fatigue. And if you're not like really doing the deep dive on the technology, you're not going to get it. I think what Nick said about medium of exchange technology is completely on point. And I think in the next, I would say like 7 years, I think by 2030, we'll have like pretty reasonable medium of exchange technology in place that's scalable, where it's just a lot easier. Next.
Or it's operating as a backend for like still a large portion of systems, because we see Visa, for example, the Visa Solana announcement. That's I mean, that's a move for them to protect, you know, their sort of middleman position. And I think that like until you see someone replace Apple Pay, I mean, when Apple Pay came out, it wasn't like you could go around and just shop anywhere with Apple Pay.
Right.
Now, literally 100% of play. Like I can pretty much go throughout New York without carrying a wallet and just make a transaction, including vending machines in the US now have that, which is like behind where it was in Asia, which has had that for a long period of time. And I think from that standpoint, there's a lot of progress to be made. And I just think it's difficult though for like Solana or any of these other blockchains to be able to like implement the payments front end, because Apple needed to go set up relations with vendors to go implement the actual point of sale technology. And like, is Solana going to do an integration with a point of sale system? And if so, how is that going to work? I think Phantom would be the one that would have to do it, or MetaMask or whoever. They're the ones that are going to have to make it so that you can authenticate via that and then go make the transaction. Yet a lot of the innovation that's happening right now is really on the security side, because all of us in the NFT space got robbed, basically, which throws us down. You could end up viewing it as actually a delay in advancement of wallet technology, because where it's going to be most implemented is on the payments side. Yet we're not doing anything to like focus on the payment side. And frankly, as a consumer in the US, I don't need it, like, because Apple Pay does work and it accomplishes all the tasks. And I don't immediately view myself as the one that's eating the fee on Visa, even though we all as consumers are ultimately paying the fee for it. But I don't experience that as the consumer, and I'm just looking for the convenience of that transaction. And so I think it's a long way before the US adopts it, but being able to get cheaper phones, this is maybe a step in the direction of being able to get a cheap phone into the hands of third world countries where they have a crypto native phone where they're able to just exchange payments with each other on an easy, like very easily without any friction whatsoever. And they can use whatever currency they want to select just by clicking a button, basically. And I think that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to come up in South America and Africa for sure. The moral of the story there, from what Nick said, is there's a ton of work that has to be done. And you have to think that over time, more and more builders will come into the space as they realize that the technology is legit. It's not all scammers and everything like that. On the point that Nick made about how long it takes for some of this technology to be adopted, when I was in London for a month in 2019 on a work trip, and it was—
That was your one international trip that you've been on, right, Pio?
Yeah, that's the only time. And
how was the food?
Nick loved that joke. Nick's like,
No, it wasn't to stick it to you. It was because this is the one trip that we always hear about. It's the London trip.
Okay.
Like it's now this like main story. I never hear like you being like, yo, the last time that I was in Italy, it's always like, yo, people are always talking about how the food in London sucks. And like all I gotta say is like, they're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about, basically. Thank you, defender of the British. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. That's actually really funny. Well, hey, that trip prepared me for when we went to London for the NFT London conference last year. I was just taking us everywhere to eat, and we were eating good. I remember we got the oysters at Mercato Metropolitano. That was phenomenal. But and we got the pizza too and the pasta. I made sure everybody was trying all the different stuff. I think I also got this Indian food there that actually wasn't that good, and that was pretty disappointing. But anyway, on that trip, this was before in the US you could do the tap card to pay, like where you just go and you tap. What's so funny? What's so funny?
The pivot there into the in-depth food analysis when he
It's
was
what
like,
we
yes, I went to
said
London.
before.
I was there for a month. And by the way, here's everything I ate over the 48-hour window in which I was there just last year.
I triggered exactly
Crazy.
what we said Pio always does when he describes the trip. And then
That's what I'm laughing at. Nick really just baited you into it, and you just speed ran. You were like, yeah, and here's what I had for lunch, breakfast, snack, where I drank coffee, the oxygen that I was breathing. And by the way, it slapped.
Well, I remember we popped into that pizza place with your buddy that came by that was 19 years old. Oh, there we go. Look at this right here. A showcasing the London food. This is actually at Mercato Metropolitano, though, because that pizza was better than where me,
Good
Easy,
pizza.
and his buddy went to get pizza, which I think might have been a tourist trap. Unfortunately, that was over in the Soho area. However, the main point I'm making is that at that time in London, you could tap to pay, and you actually couldn't do that, at least not in New York, in the United States. I don't know if there were other places, and it was taking me so long to like order a drink at a bar. It was so time consuming. And then some drunk English lad would just pop up next to me and just be like, oh, give me a pint. And they'd give him a pint, and he would just like, boom, like tap the phone and just dip. And I'm just sitting there waiting for the transaction. There's already so many issues because I'd order a tequila soda, and the bartender would be like, what is that? Like, oh, what? Tequila what? And I was like, yeah, so you know, like gin and tonic, G&T, your like iconic drink that everybody drinks. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, so instead of the gin, you put in tequila. And they're like, okay. And then instead of this, the tonic, you put in soda. And they're like, oh. And I was just like, yeah, guys, I got to explain this at every single bar that I go to. On top of that, I'm on a solo work trip trying to get like a steak. I had £100 a day daily stipend, and they'd be like, table for one. And I'd be like, I mean, can I kind of eat at the bar and maybe just like chop it up with you guys? And they'd be like, eat at the bar. And I was just like, yeah, like, you know, in the United States, you might eat at a bar. And they thought I was like an alien. And I was like, all right, I guess I got to dip from Bermondsey right now, because it's not what I'm looking for when it comes to the dining experience.
Wait, hold on. When was this that you couldn't make a mobile?
$150 is a lot of money when you don't have to tip. I'm just going to say that now.
I was chowing down, Signal. Oh my God, I was eating so good. Going to Padella over in the London Bridge area.
Hold on. So we still haven't done the weather report. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm loving that. But the second thing, we just like hooked people in. We're like, fuck NFTs. But the thing that I was gonna say, when was this that you were tapping the mobile that you couldn't in the US?
2019, March 2019.
Oh yeah,
I remember
guess it could have been that recent. Yeah, I don't know when the no. When did the subway in New York adopt that? I feel like it wasn't.
It had to be after that.
It could have been around that time. I feel like it was close to that, but yeah.
And that New York adoption thing is like epic. Instead of going and buying a car, getting the card, and your card expired, you got to go to the crusty subway attendant.
You can't use it with Path. So if you want to go to New Jersey, basically you can't do the tap thing. It's also on the, like, when you take the boats around New York, you can't do it there either. And there's different ferry brands. You got New York Waterway, and then you got NYC.
That's because the US is behind. We've been tapping since 2007. Just gonna put that out there.
I believe it. No, public transportation in the UK is way better. The guy that revolutionized the London subway and public transportation system came to New York, and it was like
2021.
It was this big deal where everyone was like, oh, he's going to fix the New York subway. The dude threw in the towel after like 18 months because he's just like, nah, like, because for sure he was being blocked like excessively. And when he revolutionized two systems, London, and I want to say like maybe Zurich or something, like another major city in Europe. This guy's a proven entity. He comes to New York. New York makes a big press release. It's a big deal that he's there. Can't wait to see what happens. After 18 months, he's like, guys, they're not letting me work. So that just shows you how the United States operates when it comes to public stuff.
Yeah. The thing I was going to say to Signal's point is, like, if you're in the fintech space, London is like at the hub of a lot of the fintech stuff. New York has stuff, but it's not at the same degree as London, primarily because their financial infrastructure has been more open to innovation and development. And so I think one of the common things is like Revolut is one of the wallets that brands
that's
that
an
exist
awesome
there.
one. Yeah, that's a really good one.
And so, like, people have been able to develop on top of the infrastructure, whereas in the US, you just haven't been able to do it. And the banks block all of it. The cost of integrating with these things is absurd. Like, if you want to develop a new debit card, minimum cost is like, it's at least like $50,000 plus to like start having the interface for you to be able to code with this. And the technology still sucks. So I don't know what happened, and I don't remember the reason that, like, I think they're built on top of a different system, which made it way easier for them to evolve. But clearly on our side, we suck in the US. Pio, do we want to just skip the weather report and wrap the show? You know,
No. Let's get into the weather report. So, guys, today, Friday, September the 8th, market volume still at 10 million, Blur at 4.8, OpenSea at 2.9. Onto leaders, things are pretty stable up there, with the only notable decline being Azuki. They're down about 10% over the last week, holding onto that 4 ETH floor for dear life. Onto the outside, Themes and Variations by Vera Molnar is the winner of the day. That's up almost 40%, almost at 5 ETH. Someone swept 10 of them yesterday, spending over 40 ETH. Obviously, another big win in the art space. Over the past 24 hours is drama on YouTube. Coffeezilla, the YouTuber who famously exposed Logan Paul's CryptoZoo scam, has announced he's going to be investigating Colin Thompson.
Is getting to the bottom of this.
Who comedian Theo claims stole multiple six figures from his podcast this past weekend. More art onto Vinny Hager, the generative open edition. It was 0.049 ETH mint. It's live on OpenSea and had over 2,000 have been minted, and a drop is going to end at 2 p.m. Eastern. We've already talked about MKBHD and the Solana phone, so I'll skip that. But lastly, after many were calling that the social platform Friendtech is dead, actually, it's had 7 days in a row of an increase in daily transactions, with over 32,000 transactions made yesterday as people continue to farm the airdrop. That is all for the weather report today. Back to you folks in the studio.
All right, so a couple things. First of all, congratulations to Vinny Hager with that addition or that generative project that he's selling. 2,000 sold in this market. That is no joke. I was getting pumped about Friendtech's progress because I'm excited about anybody that's actually building something in the space and have it and trying and saying, no, it's not a rug pull. We're actually going to build something. And it seems like they are, which is fantastic. I think that's great. And I was pumped about the transactions. Then I heard farming an airdrop, and I just want to like stick my head in the ground now because it's like, damn it. That's not how we need to be doing this stuff. You know what I mean? That's not what's going to actually really lead to like sustainability for the stuff that we're building here. But we will see. I'm going to be paying attention to Friend Tech for sure. Okay. Anyway, updates from the newsletter, which is available at thenifty.com. You need to have an account at thenifty.com for the NFTs that we give away almost daily. We are giving one away today. OnChainMonkey has announced that they will migrate their entire 10,000 supply collection from Ethereum to Bitcoin, costing over $1 million in fees, with over 99% of voters supporting the move. So the OnChainMonkey community says, bring us to Bitcoin, boys. They're going. Very cool. The U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, has ordered DeFi protocols Open0x and Deridex to pay fines of $250K, $200K, and $100K, respectively, for failing to register their derivatives trading offerings. The FBI, I've never heard of any of those platforms, but seeing a little bit of a crackdown here. Last story, the FBI has declared the notorious North Korean hackers Lazarus Group were responsible for the crypto gambling platform Stake.com's $41 million exploit earlier this week. Oh my goodness. If you remember, North Korea was responsible for the several $100 million exploit on the Ronin blockchain, the Ronin bridge, I should say, years ago. Ronin being the native blockchain of gaming enterprise Axie Infinity by Sky Mavis.
Yo, shout out to North Korea, man. They're really testing these networks,
devs, dude. Devs being devs.
Dude, they're winning awards left and right for most money stolen, and the government is like all about it. This is phenomenal, man. This is how they're
hackathons.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there. Real quick, Coffeezilla is coming to the rescue for Theo Von. Coffeezilla smelled a scam, and he's ready to full court press it. Nick, are you pumped for this?
It's like he's like trying to steal Theo Von's thunder by being like, bro, Theo Von already called the guy out. Like, what are you gonna investigate? Then you're gonna go investigate the articles that have already been written about the people who have already been scammed, who've openly commented on this. There was an article from like July, because I'd gone and looked up this guy. There were other people who'd complained about this cast media thing. Theo Von's like description of it was hard to understand when he was going through it, and I had to go to like Reddit comments to understand, and then go read other articles. But essentially, the bottom line was, he had held back money at another company. The guy who was essentially, he's a podcast. This guy, Colin, whatever his last name is, Colin Kaepernick, was running a podcast agency, which is basically, they end up typically a lot of podcasts and media like written publications, etc. Partner with agencies to go and do the ad sales for them. And so this guy was doing the ad sales, and then he takes a cut of it. Well, at some point with all of them, the revenue started just like dwindling out of nowhere, and they weren't getting payments at the original company. And what they came to them with and said was later, hey, we'll back pay you, but you have to move over to this new company, sign a contract with this new company, and then also we're going to pay you in equity, not in actual cash. And then they're going to go do this IPO or whatever. Basically, it was like they got screwed out of the money. Like, that wasn't the agreement, right? So the podcasters are like, what the hell? Like, this wasn't how I was supposed to get paid. And then Theo Von had gone through this, and it sounded like there were millions of dollars that were
$4 million
taken.
bucks total.
Yeah. So you just summarized it, but Coffeezilla is going to go re-summarize it and turn into a 3-part series about the deep dive that he did, and get Colin on a phone call to defend himself is probably my guess of what'll happen, which I do think that extra step is valid from a content creation standpoint, is that there was something added to the narrative associated with it. But I did say Colin Kaepernick, and you spelled it wrong, Sean. Colin is 1 L. So
your last name is just cooked.
Is it Kaepernick? Whatever, dude. No cap. The bottom line is, it was like, it was some backdoor stuff, and Theo just decided to come out with like a video on it to describe it. Yeah, I don't know. Coffeezilla is he's found a good niche, and there was a period, to be clear, where I thought some of the stuff before that he was doing was really interesting because it was in a space that I was familiar with, which was he was investigating a lot of the self-help gurus and people that would sell online courses to teach you how to make money, essentially. And a lot of those courses were courses on creating courses to teach people how to make money. And they'd create a funnel that they'd walk you through and then teach you the funnel that they just created that you caused you to buy, essentially.
Yeah, they're walking you through a funnel that you're going through.
Yeah, and there's a number of other things that he had done as well. We don't need to go through every YouTube video here, Clemente, but I appreciate that he has made a lot of videos. But the bottom line was he was doing some interesting stuff, but he needed to keep that channel going. I remember Jason Calacanis maybe coming on his show or doing an interview with him to like and like really giving him flowers for some of the work he had done. But where I think Coffeezilla got like a little well, I think what you disagree with as well, or which I do, which is the same place, is his investigation of blockchain related stuff is always like completely wrong. And he misses a lot of the transactions and tries to create stories. That said, it's making for good content for people who don't understand blockchain or crypto stuff. And he's able to get millions of views and basically call people scams. And it ends up working for him.
Well, he's right about calling people scams. He's definitely right about that. The thing that the thing that bothers me is when people go on big media platforms, but they don't actually understand, like even at a kind of surface level, the stuff about crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever you want to call it, NFTs. And that's the only thing that bothers me because I'm like, I just want someone to like go on a mainstream platform and properly explain some of this stuff in a really simple way. And it's uncommon to have that happen. Like when Coffeezilla went on Joe Rogan, I was like, he doesn't really get it. When people early on went on CNBC, and I mean, it was so early on, you know, it was super early on. I just didn't think he did like a great job of explaining it at that time. Go ahead, Nick.
But even when you try to do a good job, the comment is always like, I think I kind of get it, is usually the response when you've done a great job at explaining what you perceive to be the thing that like is as dumbed down as you can get when you explain NFTs. And you're like, people buy baseball cards, like, and collect and trade those, or like people buy art. Whenever you make these comparisons, people are like, it's like there's this whole leap for them to get from the physical to the digital component, which is so like, it's just like so confusing for them to like comprehend. So it doesn't really matter how you explain it. The thing that is frustrating about it is that it is different from like the internet, for example, where there was immediate value and utility for me to go use the internet right out the gate, basically, when I was using even dial-up bulletin board system in like,
how old were you?
The early 90s. I was like 10 or 11 or something like this when my dad had gotten a black and white laptop, basically, and I could go log in and play an online horse game where a cursor would go like across the screen. And I think like but that was something that as a kid I enjoyed. So there was immediate value of me logging into this thing and going using it. It wasn't like, now what am I doing here? And I think that is a leap that crypto faces, which is that like, unless you're dealing with payment problems or inflationary like forces on your currency where you're not realizing the devaluing of your underlying currency because you're not feeling it on a daily basis, the result is that you're not as inclined to go test out crypto related stuff. Or if you want to go speculate on something, that's the hook at this moment in time to come and try, is that you're hoping price goes up, but price went up and price went down, basically. For a lot of people, they're like, why would I need to go use it? And that is a valid question. There's not really, for most people, a compelling reason to go and actually use it. Whereas I could log into the internet and actually do it straight out the gate.
So, well, straight out the gate, I just Googled when was the internet invented. The official
You're talking about when it was being used by scientists. Yes. When the consumerization of it was actually being used was years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scientists were using it to communicate and share actual scientific information. And they were testing this global network. So yes, you are correct. The distinction, though, is when the consumer distribution version of it was at that point, you immediately understood as a consumer what the use case was for this thing. And your mind started going off with ideas about, oh, these are all the things I can do. When I go and do that with crypto, it's just not the same thing. Like just straight up, it's not the same.
Well, think about it. If the official birthday of the internet is January 1st, 1983, that's what Google says, right? And you were using it when you were 10, 11 years old and you had a much better experience. 10 or 11 years old for you would be like 1992, 1993.
9, 10 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
10 years. Yeah.
We're a little bit further than that in terms of like crypto amount of time. And I use crypto to pay one of our artists that operates in another country. You know what I mean? You can use
international payments is the main thing that I think has like immediate value. Like you're like, fuck yes, this makes sense when you go and do that, because it eliminates a lot of the friction that all of the institutions do. And you can't even like, we wouldn't be able to hire somebody. I don't even want to say, well, we have a whole staff in North Korea, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got Kim over there. No, just kidding. just throw out Kim's name. No, I mean, look, anyway, I would have said the same thing about an Eastern European guy with an Eastern European name.
Okay.
Well, what I was going to say is,
go ahead,
Nick.
No.
Well, to me, the number one use case of crypto is actually long-time store of wealth in Bitcoin. That's the number one use case. And people don't say that innately. But if you ask Michael Saylor what it is, he'll for sure say that.
But also the average person's not buying gold. So like that like
in the United States, though, like if you're in like Argentina, Venezuela, Africa, you are dying for that solution because your currency is like violently debased month over month. So it's like those people are like, holy, well, Bitcoin, this is wild. You mean like I can protect myself against my country's lousy currency and the horrible history of currency issues that my country and the countries surrounding mine have had? There's finally a solution for that, and it can't be manipulated by my corrupt government. Like that's a really big deal.
Yeah, there's easily 1,500 people that find utility out of crypto in this world, and I mean, shout out to those people. Like one day that number is going to grow. So
look up
really
how many
excited.
people in Nigeria use Bitcoin every day.
No, I that's why I was saying the payment system, that side of things is interesting, and I feel like it being a quote financial innovation. It does have a legitimate use case. And that's why I do tend to focus on the payment side of things, is because that's really the most clear one. The NFT side, I see the utility there as well, but it's just not the same experience for someone that had the internet. Like it's just not comparable from that standpoint because it was just a totally different consumer experience. So anyways, I don't know how we got on that, on this subject matter.
It's coming along. Let's dish out the free NFT. Clemente, we got a free NFT today for the audience. What is
You don't need a wallet for this free NFT, people, because we don't have friction. We don't require you to expose yourself to the, I mean, you can always choose to expose yourself if you want, but we don't require that amongst our community members and the audience.
We don't require you to expose yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Go to the nifty.com/claim. That's THENIFTY.com/CLAIM to claim the free NFT with the code BUDDY23, BUDDY 23. We've got the malevolent thread. This is the second to last Bodago's relic in the Bodago's relics collection. I know a lot of folks have collected the other relics. We've got this one that's dropping today and one last one that's dropping next week. The Bodago's relics are the relics that correspond with the doggo deities, which are the one of ones in the Bodago's collection. The Bodago's relics are the legendary items that belong to the dog gods. Today's relic belongs to the dog god Bad Buddy, the doggo deity, who is owned by none other than Wu. a mod in the Nifty Discord. Fun fact, it was, if I recall correctly, the first one of one sold on the secondary market. So this is the malevolent thread. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the nifty.com/claim with the code BUDDY23. Thank you for listening, everyone. We do the show Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time every single week. It's also available on Apple and Spotify podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. The show is also available on YouTube if you want to actually watch the video stream as well, which we definitely recommend. We think the visual experience is a great way to consume the show. But however you consume it, we hope you enjoy it, and we hope you'll come back next week